Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So it looks like the Federal Reserve is going to be going into unlimited quantitative easing. They're going to buy as much as they need to in order to stabilize the markets again, to stop the downward spiral. You know, they announced this first thing in the morning, and the markets, the futures, shot up like incredibly high. They were up, I think the Dow was up like 700 points at one point, and then they hated it. Everything that the Federal Reserve does, the markets hate it. And it's not that they hate the markets or hate the Federal Reserve, the markets do. It's because the damage that is being done right now is going to be irreparable. Okay? There is nothing that they can do that's going to save this situation. People seem to think that you can just throw money at this, you can print up money and just throw at it and just paper over the problems, but that's not what's going to happen. People need to work. You need to produce something, you need to go to work, you need to do something that provides a service or some kind of product. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much paper that you print up. Now, all these people who have these portfolios who expect the Federal Reserve to save them, that's not going to happen. They can print up a bunch of money and they can change the number on it, but once you get that number up to a certain point of just paper promises, all that paper that you get won't buy you anything. You need to produce something. You need to do that in order to have a viable economy. And this is what we're having an issue with right now. The unemployment numbers are going to come out here next week. And I see that the administration is begging and asking that they do not give the public that information. You know, what is it that they expect to happen? You can print up as much money and paper over this problem, and it's not going to work. I see that they're going to be buying mortgage-backed securities. They're going to be buying treasuries just like they traditionally have since the quantitative easing started back in '08. And now they're going to be buying corporate debt. You know, do they get to pick the winners and losers? Is that what's happening here? So they decide that this is a good company that employs a lot of people, so we need to give them a bunch of money, but those guys over there, sorry, you get to fail. So they get to pick the winners and losers in this economy. You know, this used to be a country where you would rise and fall on your own merits. Where if you had a good product and you had a good service and you provided it cheaper and better than anybody else could, you were going to have a success from that. But now it's a matter of whether or not you can get the Federal Reserve to buy your bonds. And that determines your success. That determines on how successful the unemployment numbers are going to be or how good the employment's going to be. It's kind of ridiculous now. I mean, none of this stuff makes sense. You know, I remember candidate Trump talking about how everything was faked. All the fake numbers out there. He talked about how the stock market was the only thing that looked good, and if interest rates were to rise just a little bit, that would even come crushing down. And it was a big, fat, ugly bubble. And the big, fat, ugly bubble got huge. And he talked about how awesome it was. Talked about how awesome the jobs numbers were. Apparently, this crash, the 30% sell-off, is the fastest in history. The stock market has never gone down 30% as fast as it has in the last few weeks. That is scary, guys. There's reports that the unemployment numbers are going to reach into the millions. And I have very little doubt of it. If it is anything like what's taken place here in my local community, it's going to be in the millions, for sure. You know, the stimulus plan, it just keeps getting, pushed off because these, politicians have their own agendas. I don't know what they are. I don't read them. I don't care. Whatever it is that they put out there, it's for their own agenda. It's not for you. It's not for the working class. It's not for the people. There's nothing they can do. They can print up all the money they want, and papering over the problem is not where the solution is. It's not the cure for the problem. My state's going to go on lockdown tonight. At midnight tonight, after this, you're supposed to stay in your homes. You're not supposed to go and hang out anywhere. You're not supposed to do anything but stay in your house. Luckily, it's raining right now, and most people probably won't have any problem staying in their house, but it's happening here. The first case of coronavirus has been confirmed here in my county. You know, people who said that this was going to be a fast recovery, a very quick recession, a mild recession, I don't know where they get that. I mean, I guess, you know, it's good to be a hopeful thinker, but it's also better to be a realistic type of thinker. I mean, just look around out there. Does this seem anywhere near a mild case? A mild recession? Does it seem to you that these companies are just going to snap right back to go back right into business like they were after the damage that's being done? You know, I had somebody here tell me that I was being silly, that I'm pushing out fear. You know, I have been talking about this stuff for years. I have been talking about the situation coming up for a long time. And I said, you got to keep your eye on the bond market. You got to keep your eye on unemployment. And once those two turn sour, we are going to be in a very difficult position. And here we are. These companies who have bought back their own debt, they need to pay those bondholders off. And there's no way that they can pay them with nobody working, with nobody buying their product, nobody buying their service. How is it that they're supposed to pay back their bondholders if they're not making any income? The Federal Reserve comes in and says, hey, guess what? We're going to buy your bonds. We're going to print up money and do that for you. No worries. Everything's going to be just fine with nobody working and nobody producing. Does that seem realistic to you? It doesn't to me. I don't know, guys. I wish there was some, good information I could tell you out there. I wish there was some good times ahead of us. But I don't see it. I mean, I see things in a very dangerous position. And I can see it from the very beginning when I said, man, these houses, they're too expensive. Nobody can afford them. This cannot possibly end well. People said, oh, man, you're crazy. Look at all the money that you can make in real estate right now. And I'm like, think of all the money that you can lose in real estate right now if you start getting in. And now it's starting to happen. Those mortgage-backed securities, they're churning. People don't want them. Their investors are dumping them, and the Federal Reserve is the one who has to step in and start buying it. You know, if you're not familiar with how a mortgage-backed security works, all house loans, all home loans, all loans that have to deal with real estate, they get jumbled into a package and sold off to an investor. And when those mortgages and refinancing started taking place, they realized that there wasn't investors out there wanting to buy those repackaged mortgage-backed securities. When you refinance your home, you're paying off the old debt, which eliminates the mortgage-backed security, and the investor gets paid back. But then if the mortgage-backed security comes up for sale again and the investor doesn't come in and start buying those again, guess what? The price of those mortgage-backed securities starts to drop and the interest rates start to rise. And who's stepping in for the rescue? The printing press from the Federal Reserve. These unemployment numbers. Holding those numbers back from the public should tell you a lot. It should tell you that they're trying to fool you. They're trying to convince you that everything is fine or that it's not as bad as it is. Why not tell the people what the numbers are? Don't you think that you're deserving of it? I don't know, guys. It's getting frustrating out there. It's hard because times are not good. I wish I could say something good about the economy, but there's nothing good out there to talk about. Maybe silver. Silver's starting to move back up. That was good. Federal Reserve came out and said that they're going to be doing a bunch of quantitative easing, and people looked over at silver and says, man, that stuff is super undervalued. 130 ounces to 1 compared to gold. When they pull gold out of the ground, they pull it out of the ground at a 10 to 1 ratio to silver. For every 1 ounce of gold, there's 10 ounces of silver. And right now it's trading at something like 130 to 1. Hysterical. There's going to be a lot of crazy information and a lot of crazy news coming out here over the next few weeks. And I think about how people are going to be reacting here after a couple of weeks of being locked up in their house. Getting stir crazy. I don't know, guys. I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys. I got a few of them for you. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.